I was speaking at a global consulting firm. This was several years ago. A year after I burned out, I started to get really honest because prior to that, I think I was viewed as this, oh, you're the paradigm of wellness and you don't struggle with this yourself. And I was like, let me tell you how I burned out
Yeah. Yeah.
and lost everything, right? So I was speaking at this to project managers, 200 of them. And afterwards, a woman reached out to me on LinkedIn 2 days later and she said, I've already made a huge change in my life.
Three things you will learn from this week's episode. Number one, how to stop playing small and find your voice. Number two, why being unmuted fuels real connection and courage. Number three, a better way to beat burnout and bring people back to life at work. Welcome to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I feature Olympians, CEOs, disruptors, authors, professional athletes, and the best of the best, where they share their stories of resilience with my lens on leadership and culture. Let's get started. What do you get when you add 13 years in corporate HR, a mic-stealing karaoke queen, a TEDx speaker with pipes and purpose, and a founder on a mission to wake up workplaces? You get my friend, Rachel Druckenmiller, the soothing gut punch every leader needs. Through her company, Unmuted, she is helping the biggest brands and boldest voices show up more human, more connected, and way more alive. Girlfriend, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That was so fun. You are the queen of intros. I've watched other episodes of you and you just like nail it. And
You know
I
what? I'm getting better at it. It's a work in progress. 150 some odd episodes. I'm getting good at it. But welcome to the show. So happy you're here. This has been a long time coming. And I'm going to start the show the same way I start every show. Would you please tell us a little bit of your story?
Yeah. So I think what helps me make sense is the fact that I'm the daughter of two teachers turned entrepreneurs. I grew up in a home where my dad listened to Tony Robbins and watched Oprah. And I was this shell of myself as a child. I was quiet and guarded and shy and self conscious and very protective. And I carried that with me for so much of my life. And I was muted emotionally, creatively, relationally. And I've been on this journey for the past, frankly, 20 years, 30 years, 35 years to get unmuted and to come into a place where I can show up fully as myself, unapologetically, and invite other people to do the same so that they do the work that they are meant to do. They have the impact that they are meant to have, and they feel fulfilled and alive. And that is what I'm here to do with words and songs and speeches. And I feel so grateful that this is the life that I am living.
All right. Well, that's all beautiful, but that was very on the surface. So we're going deeper, girl. So you and I have something in common, and we both had really scary things happen to us in that you almost died, I almost died, and it changed the way that you live. Can you talk
Mhm.
a little bit about that story?
Yeah. So leave my corporate job of 13 years. It's not easy to leave a six-figure job with a stable paycheck when you're the primary earner. Not easy. But I needed to do it. And I felt compelled that what I was meant to do was to speak. And even though I had no business plan, I went out on a limb, launched a speaking business. 6 months later, 7 months later, the pandemic hits, 85% of it gets wiped out. I'm just trying to like pull myself back up from that. And 6 weeks after that, my husband and I are out on a run, and a Chevy Silverado pickup truck takes a right hand turn at a red light and hits me. I end up at the hospital. I'm told I have a compression fracture in my back. I have cartilage damage to my ankle. I end up with PTSD. And that experience just completely rocked my world. And it was a brush with death, to your point, that I had never had something like that happen before. And it really rattled me. But because of the situation I was in, I didn't have an opportunity to really pause and recover the way that I needed to. I just kept working and I just kept going and pushing through. And at a certain point, I needed to take a pause and do some things that were going to give me an opportunity to like recalibrate myself
Yeah.
and connect to what brought me joy.
I think what you're describing is really common for women, and we'll have a setback, but because the pressure is on and because we've always been survivors, we just move forward and move
Mhm.
forward and push, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how burnt out we are. And I'm loving that lately, I'm seeing so much more dialogue with women about saying, I need a break. I need a timeout. I need a pause. I need to collect myself. I need to do work on myself, which all of us do.
Mhm.
And I love that you kind of share that in your journey. So super, super important. So talk a little bit about unmuted, why the name, and what did it mean? I mean, you talked a little bit about muting your feelings and your relationships and stuff, but why that word and what does that mean to you?
It was interesting because when I was in my corporate job, there were times when I felt like I had to just do what was expected of me. Like just I was the director of well-being and employee engagement. And so at an insurance company. And there were certain expectations of what someone in that role did.
Sure.
Like just put people in these programs and make them check these boxes and get these incentives and whatever. And I saw people totally checking the box. And I was like, why are we doing this? And it wasn't always popular to question convention and
Mhm.
to be different. And so it was about 10 years ago. I was writing in my like journals. I'm a big journaler. And one of the things that came up was this word unmuted. I wrote it down in my journal and I thought about the journey that I'd been on with my health. So what really got me to initially get unmuted was I was sick a lot as a kid,
Mm.
chronic ear, nose, and throat infection, surgeries, all this stuff. And I started to change my diet in my late 20s and completely recovered my health in a way that I didn't even know was, I didn't know I could feel that good. I didn't know that I could be without these issues I'd had my whole life. And so I thought about my plate, and that's where it initially came from for me, this idea of I'm unmuting my plate and bringing more color in and more vibrancy. And when I do that, I feel more alive.
Mhm.
And then I started to think about it more like kind of a deeper level about how I was this little girl who would spend hours alone in my room with the doors closed, singing, and I wouldn't let anyone see that part of me. It was the most alive part of me that nobody got to see because I was so self-conscious. I had to do everything perfectly. I was a golden child. I was a straight A student.
Mhm.
And I thought, sharing your creative expression, somebody could judge you and they could think you're not good enough,
Sure.
or they could make fun of you.
Mm.
It's too big of a risk. And so, and on top of that, I didn't really fit in growing up. I went to Catholic school, I've never been Catholic. And I always felt different. I always felt like an other. And I suppressed a lot of that. I was left out of things. I wasn't invited, every girl in the class gets invited to Abby's birthday except me. And
Mm.
those those experiences really stick with you. And I didn't tell people how much it hurt me when I was left out of things. And
Yeah.
so there was so much of who I was in really every aspect of my life, my body, my emotions, my relationships, my creativity, that I was muting. And so when I thought about leaving my job, I was really debating on what I wanted to call my company. And I was like, what do I want to stand for?
Yeah.
I want to be the type of person that stands for helping people come alive and be courageously and boldly expressed. And to me, the word that best captured that was unmuted.
I love it. I love it. Now, for those of you that aren't watching us right now, we had a real chuckle because we're wearing the exact same bright, bright, bright pink tops. And we both were really excited when we saw each other on Zoom to see how we're dressing. And these colors are not playing smalls, which leads me to the topic of how do we tell people not to play small? Because, like you said, when you take a risk and you put yourself out there and you're doing things you've never done before, you could be embarrassed. You could be made fun of. People could not get you, and people can be threatened by those big moves. So, what is your advice for folks that want to really kind of settle into their own voice?
Well, part of it, I think, is have a little bit of grace and compassion for yourself because we shrink and silence and sabotage ourselves to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
There's something at stake, and it feels like whatever's at stake is just too valuable and too vulnerable for us to offer it up to somebody else. We're too woundable, right? The word vulnerable is woundable. And so I think to it first and foremost acknowledge, oh, I'm doing this to protect myself. Let
Hmm.
me be a little grace and compassion and not like judgment toward myself about this. So first and
Yeah.
foremost, that I think mental shift is important. And then to ask yourself, there's two questions I like to ask people to think about. What is the cost of me staying small?
Mm.
What is the cost of me muting myself? What is the cost of me shrinking back? What is the cost of me holding back? To me, to the people that I'm meant to impact, to the world, to my organization, to my family, to the people I love, to the people I'm meant to inspire and impact, what is the cost? And then the second question is a possibility oriented question that activates the creative and innovative parts of our brain. And that is what becomes possible if I
Mhm.
step into a fuller, bolder, more alive version of myself. Like, just let yourself imagine that before you take a step, and cast that vision for yourself, and imagine, oh, how good could it be?
Yeah.
How alive could you feel?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, we always ask this question. We're both in the Outlier Project, and one of the questions that we love to ask is how good can it get? And show me how good it can get. And I think that's kind of a war cry of like you're meant for more. Both Rachel and I have had long corporate careers, and leaving that security is a big deal. And having faith that you're going to figure it out, that people are going to hire you, that you're going to be in demand is really it's really scary, and there's a lot of reason to doubt. And oh, by the way, there's a ton of people out there that are very jealous by the fact that you are leaving whatever you were tied to go pursue something real. And not that your corporate world isn't real, of course it is, but to pursue something that's more aligned with your heart. And it takes guts. So, like she said, give yourself some grace because you deserve it.
Yeah. Can I offer a question that might be helpful for people to think
Yes, of
about?
course.
I'm big on asking questions. Like in all my keynotes, that's a core of what I do is I invite people to think about, to ask themselves and people in their life questions to get a clearer picture of who they are. There's a concept in psychology called self-concept clarity. And so the more clarity that we have about our strengths and our capabilities, our shortcomings, the clearer that picture is, the more confident we are, the more better decision makers we are, and the less anxious we are. So a couple of questions people could ask themselves and the people around them. One is, what is it about the work I do that has the greatest value to you? So most people never ask a question like that of people they work with, and they make assumptions, or they think if they ask that, they're going to say nothing, you're fired, and they're not going to say that.
No one's saying that.
They're not going to say that. So because I like to say that we are often blind to our own brilliance.
Yes.
And we cannot see what is there. And sometimes we need another person to be a mirror for us.
Yes.
And to stand next to us with their arm around us and say, hey, like, you're pretty cool. This is what I see in you.
All right, this is the perfect segue. So you have a song, I think it's called Borrow Their Belief in You, or borrow, did I get
Believe in
that?
You.
Believe in You.
Yeah.
Okay, this song, I loved when you shared this song with me because I loved the lyrics so much. And will you just talk a little bit about the chorus and what it says? Because I thought when you can't find the strength to believe in yourself, borrow someone else's belief in you. That was kind of what it was meant to be. So talk a little bit about that and how that came up, because I think it's such an important concept for folks to remember and rely on.
Well, it's funny. I started saying it in keynotes about 3 years ago as an insight when I was talking to people about having confidence in yourself. Because so often there are people that see things in us. Even for me, when I was in my corporate job, I knew I wanted to leave, but we all need a catalyst that's going to help spur us to actually do the thing that we say we want to do. And there was a guy that worked in the corporate office, and he heard me speak at an event in Chicago at about 300 of their clients and prospects. And afterwards, he said to me, we talked about 3 weeks later, he goes, Rachel, what do you really want to be doing? I was like, oh, this, I just want to speak all the time. It's a throwaway comment. I want to do this all the time.
Yeah.
And he said to me, how long do we have? I was like, what do you mean? I thought that was my debut. You're about to send me all over the country. What do you mean? How long do we have? But I knew exactly what he meant. And I said, I don't know, 2-3 years. And then 11 months later, I gave my notice. And those people that see in us and call out a thing that maybe we see, but maybe we don't see it with the same clarity that somebody else does.
Yeah.
And so when we invite somebody else in I had to borrow so many people's belief. When I started singing as part of my speaking, I did that through a professional speaker training called Heroic Public Speaking. I had never thought to combine those two things before. And when I did, the response I got from people was so generous and kind and affirming. And I was like, oh my gosh, they think I can sing. It's sort of like, if this person thinks I can, well then maybe I can. And so there's 2 questions that I learned from a coach. I burned out and got mono in 2017 while I was the director of well-being at my company, which was a really good look.
The irony.
2 years after being named the #1 health promotion professional in the entire United States. So, feeling like a fraud a little bit. And I met a coach who was an HR leader in Baltimore named Lori. And she sat down with me and asked me 2 questions. And I ask these questions in every keynote. And the questions are, What shows up when I do? What qualities do I bring into a room? What shows up when I do? What qualities do I bring into a room? And I had to reach out to, she said 6 to 10. I reached out to 18 people and asked those two questions. When I'm coming off of my season of feeling my lowest and my worst after burning out and having this identity crisis. And the responses I got back from people were nothing like what was in my head, which was in my head was, you're shy, you're bossy, you're intimidating, you're not popular, you're not wanted, you're too much, you're a goody two shoes. What, we all have a narrative that's not helpful or nice. And as I'm hearing these words back from the people around me that know me well, they're saying things that I would hope on my best day people would see in me. And they were all saying that. And I gathered a list of everything they said, and I still have it in a Google Doc. And it started to fundamentally shift the way that I saw myself. Because I was like, oh my gosh, what if I borrowed their belief? This is how all these people, they can't all be lying. Maybe they're onto something. What if I actually acted as if that is how people experience me because they're telling me they do?
Yeah. I think it's really easy to get caught up in I'm not enough, or no one's going to believe this, or no one's going to trust me, or whatever it is. But when you go through an exercise like that, or you play that song and digest it, every morsel it is, you start to see yourself the way you should be, the way you should be projecting yourself to the world. So I love that. So you get hired to come in and get companies kind of anti-burnout, and I don't even know if that's even a concept, but to feel a little better about their work and their connection with each other. So who hires you, and tell me why?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I do a couple things. Somebody posted, I'm speaking at an HR conference in Nebraska and later this year, and somebody, they're posting about it, and they said, Rachel Druckenmiller reignites the human spirit at work. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna take that. Like,
Thank you. That'll
I
work.
was like, I do. And then I describe what I do as activating and amplifying people's voice, value, and vitality at work.
Hmm.
And, so many people, so the people that hire me, it might be an HR leader, head of learning and development. Most of what I do are keynotes. So it's event organizers, meeting planners, association, executive directors.
Right.
Those are the type of people that bring me in across a wide range of industries. And I love what I get to do. I see the core of what I do is helping people activate a sense of agency and capability inside of themselves. So that when they walk out of that room, they are compelled and convicted to take action in a bolder, braver way than they would have otherwise. And if you want, I can share some examples of what that has
Yeah,
looked
no,
like.
I love this. And I the point I really want to highlight is leaders are hiring Rachel because they understand when you can ignite people and get them excited, that is a transformative moment for the company, which will lead to more results. So by getting your people connected, getting them to have agency, that helps people. So you're not working with leaders who are kind of the old, like, I don't like the touchy-feely stuff. Just get your job done, fill out your CRM and, don't ask questions. These are not the people hiring her. The modern leaders are hiring her. So this is good. So yeah, go ahead and add some more to that because
Yeah.
so much on this.
I'll give you a couple of examples of something that comes up. So one, I was speaking at a global consulting firm. This was several years ago. Year after I burned out, I started to get really honest because prior to that, I think I was viewed as this, oh, you're the paradigm of wellness and you don't struggle with this yourself. And I was like, let me tell you how I burned out
Yeah. Yeah.
and lost everything, right? So I was speaking at this to project managers, 200 of them. And afterwards, a woman reached out to me on LinkedIn 2 days later, and she said, I've already made a huge change in my life. Like, what did you do? I was with you for 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good, but I don't know if I'm that good. And she said, I'm a single mom. I split my time between two locations. I travel a lot. It's taking a toll on me, not able to be home the way I want to with my son. And there was a question you asked us, and I took it home to my partner. And I talked to him about it, and it compelled me to have a conversation with my boss to ask for a change in my role so I could be taken off of the travel part of my job, which was literally half of her job, and just be based where she lived. Big risk. She took the risk. She asked. Her boss said yes.
Mm-hmm.
She stayed at that company for 4 more years. This woman was 1 foot out the door.
Yeah.
And she said, the question that I asked that prompted her to do that was, who gets the best of you? And who gets the rest of you?
Mm-hmm. I love that.
And
That's so
she did the
true.
brave thing. Yeah.
Well, and when you think about the balance or the harmony in your life that you're trying to create, your family, who is the most important figures in your life, partner, children, parents, best friends, whatever, your chosen family, they can get the short end of the stick, because work becomes all encompassing. This is what defines me. This is my role. This is what's paying me.
Mhm.
So that comes first. But I really do feel like we need better balance. So good on her that she did that. And I mean, note to everyone, I mean, if you've been listening to this show for any length of time, if you don't ask, you don't get. So that's not
Yes.
a new concept. So I love that she did that. And I love that you inspired that. So good. Um, okay, so let's pause for 30 seconds. I've got a little call to action. I've got a note from our sponsors. We're going to come right back and continue with Rachel. So sit tight for just 30 seconds. If you like the stories you hear every week on this show, guess what? I have hundreds more from my nearly 30 years in the leadership trenches. And I don't just talk about building irresistible culture, I do it. You can bring me into Keynote, moderate your panels, or work directly with your leaders to drive material change. So let's roll up our sleeves, go out to heartbeatforhire.com, let's connect, and let's make some magic happen. Go lead with heart. Okay, now to my favorite part of the program, Rachel. What inspires you?
Gosh, the people that so many things inspire me. The people that I get to meet in this work that I do, I travel, around the country, and I get to hear people's stories of overcoming, of stepping up, of showing up. I get text messages from people that say, I did the thing you said and I got a raise. I've never advocated for myself before. I mean,
Yeah.
I get so inspired by the people whose stories that I get to hear. I get inspired by the coaches that I've had the opportunity to work with, the people that ask really difficult questions. I think we have so much opportunity to grow and to expand when we allow ourselves to sit in these spaces that are uncomfortable and someone gets to really dig deep with us. I get so inspired by that. Um, I get inspired by the stories of people who are good and kind in the world and are doing things to elevate the people around them, and by the people in this community, the Outlier Project community. I mean, there's so many incredible people doing so many amazing things, and inspiration is everywhere. We just have to open our eyes to it.
I agree. I agree. It's all how you choose to look at the world. So if you stay curious and ask these questions of, tell me your story, what makes you tick, those moments. We have both Rachel and I have met so many incredible people just by asking those questions, and they've changed our life. So it's been really fun. So what would you like your legacy to be?
Uh, I want my legacy to be that as a result of my existence, that more people in the world feel like they're a somebody who's worth seeing and celebrating and shining. That they would know, like, deep in the core of who they are, that they have value and worth, that there's never been anyone like them. There will never be anyone like them again. And that if they hold back the essence of who they are, that they're robbing the world of a gift that only they can bring. And so my hope and my desire and my intention is that more people would understand that and, like, the depth of who they are and show up more fully in their life.
I love that. Oh, well, you're already on your way, girl. So congrats to that. So what is next for you?
Mm. Well, I'm writing my first book and it's going to come out in the fall of 2026.
Woohoo!
So there's that is exciting. And then I'm going to see my producer in LA in August. We're going to record some stuff. We're working on a couple new songs. I'm going to do another music video. So those are some things that I am really excited about. I feel ignited. I feel like over the past 6 months, I worked with this coach to prepare for this keynote that I had for 750 men and women. And I grew so much. I feel like I shed so many layers of heaviness that I've been carrying since that accident. And I feel lighter and more alive. And I'm excited to see what that energy catalyzes in the people around me, because I don't even think there's so much more that is coming that I can't even yet imagine, and I'm here for it and I'm ready.
I love that. Hey guys, if you didn't listen to that, g- stop, rewind, and play it again because if you have the ability to visualize, to dream, to imagine what can come, and you stay open and you're not afraid of taking those risks, and you surround yourself with people who want to see you win, the world is your oyster. It's up for the taking. So, how can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. They can find me, and it's Druckenmiller. You can imagine my name gets botched 6 ways to Sunday, but it's
Yes.
entertaining every time. RachelDruckenmiller.com. And then I'm on Spotify, wherever you stream music, just search my name. I don't have a special stage name because Druckenmiller is weird enough. And Unmuted Life on Instagram and then on YouTube as well. So those are all
And
the
we will
places I hang
share
out.
all of that in the show notes. Not to worry if you can't spell Druckenmiller. It takes a minute for everybody. So Rachel, my friend, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. This has been a delight. And guys, if you liked what you heard, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, listen on Apple or Spotify, write a 5-star review. These matter so much. Sit tight. I'm going to bring in an audience question in just a moment. So, Rach, thanks so much for being a fabulous guest.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Today's audience question is, how do I make my team feel more connected when I can see that they are not? Actually, I love this question. I have a story that goes along with it. I was managing a pretty big organization for IBM. It had about 75 people, and it was a whole bunch of acquisitions that was all kind of thrown together. And no one really understood why we were on the same team. It really felt like the island of misfit toys. But I understood that it was really important to get them to care about each other because if they could care about each other and be interested in each other, we could help each other. So I instituted a storytelling program. And the storytelling program initially was just internal for my team. And I was tasking each of the reps on the team to tell a story about what it is they sell. But they weren't allowed to use acronyms, and they had to tell it as if they were talking to my retired school teacher mother. So when they told these stories, they were telling it in a way that anyone could understand it. And all of a sudden, the light bulbs started going on. People started saying, "That's what that is? Oh my gosh, that's great. My customer, Jimmy, totally needs this. He's looking for this solution. Let me bring you in." So we started creating all of these bridges and all of these moments for connection where people were saying, "I didn't know that's what it was." And I said, "These stories are so good. We've got to make this external." So we opened up the call to reps outside of our team that were client execs and reps that had, some of our customers, as well as they were covering multiple clients. And then we also opened it up to the business partners that we worked with. And I started getting calls saying, "Lyndsay, these calls are changing everything. I'm changing my strategy. Now that I understand what these products do, this is going to make such a huge difference in what it is we sell and the services we provide." But what it ultimately did was not only equalize the playing field, it made everybody understand what the other person did, but we started establishing more personal connections. And there was a whole bunch more conversations, getting to know you conversations around what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? And we created more trust. With more trust, we also created more fun. And this team was firing on all cylinders. So the best part, the byproduct of all of that work was we were crushing our numbers. So that was a great story of how do you get your people more invested in each other, more connected to each other. And the other thing as a leader, it's your obligation to do is to recognize people privately and publicly. But the public piece is really critical because when you're saying, "Hey Emma, I want you to tell the story of how you talked to that customer and why they ended up buying because everyone can learn from what you did." Well, everyone else is watching and they're saying, "I want my moment in the sun. I want her to recognize me. I want to have my story told." And so people start stepping up and they start sharing more. And people feel like it's safe to ask more questions. "How did you do that? How did you get going with that client that you didn't know?" So I hope this helps. There's always ways to create connection with your team, and you do not need to be the CEO to drive good culture in your organization. It helps when you have a leader who really understands that having great culture drives results. But if you are just a leader of a team, and I shouldn't use the word just, if you are a leader of a team, you have an opportunity and an obligation to let people shine. Go out there, lead with heart, have a great day, and thank you for listening. Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening to this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or consider leaving a 5-star review and a great rating at Spotify or Apple. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great day.